Hey, I published a quote from one of my articles just a few days ago on Facebook. The quote that said that I believe that professional programmers spend more time on writing automated tests like unit tests, integration tests, comparing to the amount of time they spend on writing production code. And a friend of mine told me that that's not entirely correct, because sometimes people just don't need to write unit tests. And it doesn't mean that they're not professional, because there's a situation where the project doesn't require them to do that. And that seems to make sense, because sometimes projects don't have enough time to write unit tests. That's what I hear quite often, people saying that we didn't have time for that. We had time to write the code and to put it to production, so it was not possible for us to spend any extra time for unit testing. It was necessary to put the code into production. Sometimes people say that we didn't have the budget for that. That the project sponsor didn't pay for unit testing, and that's why we were writing production code, and the unit testing would be something we would do for the future. Sometimes they say that the specification, the requirements didn't tell us explicitly to do that. So we had to create the code, but nowhere in the documentation it was said that the code had to be covered by unit testing. And to avoid so-called gold plating, we decided not to do that, because no budget, no time, no requirements. What's the point? There are many similar excuses like that, and they are excuses. I don't believe in that. I think it doesn't work that way. I think that writing unit tests or not writing unit tests, it's not the question about the project. It's not about circumstances. It's about you. Whether you write tests or you don't write tests, it's only an indicator of how good or bad programmer you are. I can compare that with the way people format their code. Some programmers write the clean code and they format it properly, they indent it right, they name their classes and variables correctly, they think about design, they don't make large classes, they don't make large methods, they make the code clean, they follow many recommendations and good practices which so many books recommend, and the code looks clean. Do they have requirements for that in their requirements specification documents? Do they have extra time and extra money for that? Do they go to their bosses and say that to write a clean code I need that amount of money, and to write a dirty code I can do it for less money? I don't think so. They're not telling their managers that for a clean code we will need 2 weeks of work, but for a dirty one I can spend just 5 days. That would be weird to hear that from a professional programmer, because a professional programmer will always try to write the code the right way, will always try to make it clean. It works the same way for automated tests. If you are professional, if your level is high, you cannot create the code without unit tests. Well, unless you are experimenting and you're making something which you're not sure going to go to production at all. In that case, of course, I wrote an article about that some time ago as well, telling that you don't write tests when you just start writing code. First of all, you need to create some skeleton, and then on top of that skeleton you start putting the actual meat code, and at that point of time you start creating tests. But that's the only exception. Otherwise, if you're working on the code which is live in production, which is not just a few weeks old, then you have to use unit tests. Just like you use other tools in your professional work. The unit testing is just a tool which you're supposed to use. It's not an extra something. It's not something which you optionally include into your code if there are requirements for that. This is a mandatory instrument for a professional programmer to actually manage the daily work. You cannot work without the unit tests. And if you can work without unit tests, it only tells me that your level is not high enough. Think about that. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned.